From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Look, it's a full house of funny people. Except, well, I'm not. I'm funny looking. You manage comics or but we're going to be doing a little different this morning on Morning Line. Interesting show we have on tap for you. Have you heard about the Wild West Comedy Festival, the Broken Record Comedy Show? I remember last year it was that Brian Bates, who used to work here, was telling us all about, setting this world record, which they set. We're going to get into all this. A world record for telling jokes, is that what it is?
It's the longest stand-up comedy show, multiple comedians.
Yes, which was set last year.
Yeah.
And you're shooting to break it this year.
We broke, the previous record was 80 hours, set by the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles a few years ago. We doubled that and kept going. We did 8 days of comedy.
That's what I heard. Just
184 hours and 16 minutes, completely unnecessary. And we figured the only thing dumber and more pointless than that would be beating your own world record by just 5 minutes.
Is that what you're shooting for?
That's what we're doing, yeah.
I think that's awesome. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to promote that and just talk about Nashville is becoming a centerpiece for comedy and how it's growing and becoming. Let me introduce the guest. You just met Chad. Chad, is it?
Hey, everybody. America's favorite comedian of all time, Chad Ryden.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Comedian. Lucy Sinsheimer?
Sinsheimer.
Okay.
We were really close.
Zany's Comedy Club.
Yep.
Nice to have you on, Lucy. And also Luke Watson, a comic as well. Thanks all for coming on. Third Coast Comedy Club. And let me just I'm fascinated. When Brian Bates used to work here, and he was our executive producer on The Plus.
Let's make this all about Bates.
No, I want to mention that. I mean, he basically quit his job.
Yeah.
He quit a good paying job.
A great job. He did News Channel 5 Plus, right?
Got to work with me, so it was a great job. And is it like he quit a good paying job to go do stand-up comedy and make a living?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, can you really do that?
Yeah, it's a rite of passage where you're able to just say, you know what, I don't need this anymore, I can walk away. I've done that several times for many jobs, not always voluntarily.
Well, then you're a full-time comic.
Yeah, so I got fired from Vanderbilt in 2007, and I was on the road full-time already anyway. They just finally figured it out.
Yeah.
So that was like when I really... But I was on the road like 2004, 2005, pretty much full time. So it's been a long haul. But yeah, when you're able to quit your job and walk away and just make your money off of comedy, that's the goal. And Bates is doing that. He's doing a great job.
If it's something you love. Same thing with Luke. You're not full time like he is.
I'm not full time. I'm part time.
So are you working toward that, or would that be something you'd like to do? I imagine.
I'm working towards that. It's a little scary just to quit your job. Getting fired, I guess, would make it easier.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sometimes people make decisions for you, and it works out.
Exactly. It was meant to be.
But once Third Coast Comedy Club opens, my goal is to do that full time.
Okay, so go full time. I guess most of you, if that's what you want to do, that's the dream. So you probably see, Lucy, plenty of people coming through. That's their ultimate goal. Some of them can just keep doing it as a hobby, right? What do you see going through Zany's?
Through Zany's, it's not really anybody doing it as a hobby. I would say we're what people are working towards once they get past that. Quitting their full-time job and
meaning to get to Zany's, you have to be good enough.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Is there a bar? How do you decide who gets to perform there? Who decides if someone's funny?
Well, full-time, I mean, there's somebody who's coming here for a weekend. That's more like they've been doing it for years and years and years. There's not a lot of people that have been doing it for, 6 months and are coming through Zany's to headline. But we do have showcases and nights like that, and I like to go to all the open mics in town and see people that are going out almost every night. I mean, we have, 2 to 3 open mics every night now.
Yeah. Is that right? And what kind of crowds do you draw?
At the open mics or at Zany's?
Open mics or Zany's, just in general. What do you guys see?
All kinds of people.
Yeah.
So people from like to laugh.
Across the spectrum, yeah.
All right. What I was, quizzing Brian when he decided to do it, and I wanted to ask you this. I mean, the average individual who watches TV and watches comedy, they know the big stars who have, made it into the movies or the big stand-up, but you can make a living being lesser known.
An anonymous nobody can make a living in comedy. No, that's true.
You're successful, but how do you do? I guess it's conventions. It shows. I mean, but you're not making a fortune going to Zany's, right? You absolutely can. Now Zany's is one of the top tier clubs in the nation.
Yeah.
It's a celebrity club.
You pay the comics pretty well.
Yeah.
It depends on if they're headliners or not. Correct.
Yeah.
It's all about how many butts are in the seats.
Exactly.
So if you can sell the place out,
then you're
going to make the money. And eventually, if you sell out every show over the course of a week, then it's time to play with a Ryman or a bigger venue like that.
Yeah.
But until then, a super duper famous comedian can come to Zany's and they can play theaters everywhere else, but they still play the club here because we have a higher threshold for entertainment in this town.
Okay.
That's what's so cool about it. I mean, Roseanne Barr could play theaters around the country, but she came to Zanies. Richard Lewis can play theaters, but
Sure,
he came
I've
to
seen
Zanies.
the names that come there,
Yeah,
right.
that's the cool thing about.
So it's the reputation that it has,
Yeah.
and they want to come to this.
And
A lot of people work out their material at Zanies too.
Louis
that right?
Louis C.K. was famous. He said that he still comes to Zanies because people won't give you an inch. They'll laugh if it's funny, and then they're done, and you
Yeah.
really find out if your material is great here. So it's like
I think
that's
also a
it's
lot
little
of
feather
the
in it.
size of the club is what draws a lot of comics. I think the more intimate setting, the better in a lot of ways. If
Yeah.
you're performing to a huge venue, you're not going to get. It's not going to be the same impact as an audience member or as a performer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
When was the last time there was? I mean, what comics today still do like arena shows? I mean, I remember the day, Steve Martin going ways back, and Eddie Murphy. Who today does could anyone fill a stadium?
Oh yeah,
Kevin Hart.
Kevin
Okay,
Hart,
Kevin Hart
Amy
would, you're
Schumer
right.
just
Yeah.
did Bridgestone.
Okay.
There's a handful.
Okay. All right.
Martin Lawrence just
Martin
did-
Lawrence is going to do.
Yeah.
Who's doing who's doing Bridgestone during the thing? I don't know.
Bridgestone.
Sorry,
Oh,
Bridgestone.
during the festival.
During the festival, I mean,
No, it's the War
thousands of
Memorial.
people.
Some
Is
people
it
are
gonna be
doing
War Memorial?
Yeah, War Memorials.
but I kind of agree with you too, though. I mean, for some people, the intimacy of a smaller venue is something that's just more appealing. Of course, depending on the comic, you ever go after anyone in the audience?
If they start the fight, like I'm
You're
not
talking to the
gonna-
right person.
I'm not going to attack anybody unless I'm provoked. And,
Yeah.
But if there's a problem in the room, like I'll start off every show by just kind of scanning around and asking anybody if they have a problem, and then just feeling it out and
Yeah,
seeing
if
what's
they
going on.
come after you, then maybe you will. But you're not going to.
Most of the time, hecklers are not really intentionally trying to be awful. Sometimes they're drunk. Sometimes they just need attention in some way. And if you give them that a little bit, then they'll stop.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the people who are malicious, then you got to shut them down. And I'm notorious for doing that.
No, you get
Especially
kinda
if somebody's getting chatty during the show. That's
Getting
my
what?
favorite thing to watch.
Oh, someone who's.
If people are talking during the
Talking
show,
during
I'll
the
shut it
show.
down.
You just shut it down. Maybe
Yeah.
pay attention here.
Yeah, you have to.
What
It's a
did you
show.
say? Okay, so you're talking. I mean, give me like.
Well, I'll be like, what are you talking about? And then we'll just go from there.
Okay, so you'll just intervene. Say, hey, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more interesting than me, and
Yeah.
just keep going.
Well, it's not interesting,
not.
interesting to me.
Of course not. That's-
It's probably about me, and that's what I want to find out. Are you talking about me? And whatever it is they're talking about, we're all going to talk about it because it's like we're all in this together. We're not having individual conversations. That's ridiculous.
Exactly, and again, that's kind of fun to watch. Hey, I always think of that scene from The Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. Did you ever see
yeah.
that with the
Oh,
comic
yeah.
and how he
Dave
just
Chappelle.
eviscerated him? Yeah, Dave Chappelle. Just eviscerated him. And that's just the example I get. But it's fun in the more intimate settings. And do you
Yeah.
prefer working the smaller ones right now? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
I do.
because you can.
It works better for improv.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, improv is a little different, obviously, than stand-up, but I think the intimacy adds to both of them. But you have a connection to the audience that you don't have in a larger venue. Like, we've done shows at City Winery, and with that big of a space, you're not going to have the connection you have if
Yeah.
you're doing, like, the basement.
Sure. I'm just amazed. I wonder if, and we're going to take calls from the show. We have some coming on. We have to take a break here in a moment or two. But I mean, I'm on TV every day, doing news and things like this. And what I'm saying is,
fancy.
I can't think, and I don't get nervous about that, but I've always thought I can't think of anything more difficult or nerve-wracking for me than to go in front of an audience that expects you to make them laugh. I couldn't do it. I just don't think I could. I mean,
Most people's biggest fear is public speaking, but
Yeah.
for a comic, like our biggest fear is nobody listening to us.
Yeah.
well, yeah,
that's-
or not
or
laughing or
not
something.
laughing. That's
And I
the-
guess we've all had. Have you had moments, probably, where some of your jokes landed flat, right? I'm sure
Oh,
at
sure,
the beginning
yeah.
it happens, correct? Is
Yeah.
it? People just say that you got to work through it. Is that
Well, you just make fun of the joke bombing, and then people
Yeah.
laugh at that, and then you
right?
keep it.
Self-deprecating, and you move on from that. But it's just the stress of that for me to get up there knowing that they're sitting there, like, okay, make me laugh, and expecting, and sometimes a tough audience, like you said, it's Zanies. You better be funny, or you're gonna have crickets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if
they
somebody-
don't laugh out to be polite there.
No,
No.
not at all.
You know what I mean? Because like if I'm watching someone, and they're, I'm gonna kind of chuckle just because I feel bad.
But
for
as a
them.
comic,
But-
you don't want that. You don't want the fake laughter.
No, you don't
Yeah.
want that,
You
right?
would rather
you
know,
prefer to have
okay,
them be
that's not
silent.
good. Let's scratch it off the list.
And if we go into a show and we start a show and somebody's sitting up front with their arms crossed and they've got the body language of they're turned off or they're defensive or make me laugh, then like I'll figure out what's going on with them. That's what I'm saying. Like I'll figure out what's going on with them and pull that out and then try to loosen them up and then we can start the show.
But the truth is, if they're there probably because unless someone dragged them against
That
the will.
happens. Like sometimes a boyfriend will drag somebody.
Okay,
Yeah.
right there, and I'm not gonna have a good time, and then you kind of they're like that, and then you try to break through.
Or somebody's a huge fan of the comic and they've somebody's been dragged along because they had an extra ticket or something like that. So it's like you have to unify the audience.
Yeah. There's a real art to it. It's
Oh, yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
neat. All right, listen, we got to take a break on that note. When we come back, just go ahead. We'll take some calls. get more into your personal experiences and all this, and then also talk. It's May 15th to the 22nd, correct?
That's
The comedy festival, Broken Record Comedy Show, and boy, we'll just get into the details about how you can go see some of these shows and what you guys will be doing and all of that. Take a few calls, and we've never really done this before with 3 comics. Are you beeping?
sorry.
All right, well, let me take the call and be back
That's
right after
time
this
for break. Yeah.
Stay with us. Perfect timing. We'll be right back.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right.